Welcome to History Nuts. I'm Russ Carson Jr., the founder of Family Tree Nuts. At Family Tree Nuts, we build family trees for people, and we produce videos at historic locations and videos that help to honor your ancestors.
I'm Jameson Cable, founder of the Kentucky History Podcast, where we talk about anything Kentucky history, events, people. If it has to do with Kentucky, we're going to discuss it.
And we've teamed up together to bring you History Nuts.
History Nuts is a live show where we talk about, you guessed it, history.
Right. History seems to be less and less to people today, but we are trying to do everything we can to keep it alive.
Absolutely. History is a passion of ours, for sure, but it connects to you. Russ, tell us about the best part of the show.
You can join in. You can comment and ask questions live.
We've got a great topic today, and we know you're going to enjoy this episode of
History Nuts. Rolling. What's going on, everybody? What's going on, Jameson?
Oh, man, it's a little cold outside, or at least it was.
Oh, it ain't too bad today compared to the last few days. But,
it's not. Timing would have been great if it was like 2 days ago.
And since you're a teacher, you're getting real excited. It's almost Christmas break time, right? You'll be out of school, right?
That's right. One more week.
You've been out of school for quite some time, haven't you?
I go to school, yes, but...
Oh, you go there. Okay, so you got to actually, get out of your PJ pants, right?
Yeah, I do have to wear blue jeans.
Awesome. Well, hey, we got an awesome show tonight. It's titled Christmas at Valley Forge, kind of thing. So, Jameson, have you ever been to Valley Forge?
I have not.
I knew you hadn't been. I thought about asking you that, and I knew you hadn't been there.
Yeah.
Have you been to? Have you been out of the state of Kentucky?
Yes, I've been out of the country.
Okay, where'd you go?
I went to Mexico, and I've been, Cancun, if you want to be exact.
Okay.
And I went to the Bahamas, which is, technically, that's out of the country. So.
Yeah, it's technically. That's right. You got to count those things for sure. But anyway, our topic tonight's Valley Forge. I've been there. Matter of fact, I've been there about this time of year. We were there. We were in Philadelphia for the Army-Navy game a few years ago. And it was in Philly. And as you know, the Valley Forge is about 18 miles outside of Philly. It took us 2 hours and 45 minutes to get there with the traffic from 18 miles or so. But so it was this time of year, and daggone, it was cold, big open space and stuff like that. So we got to feel a little bit of that. So need to go back there and shoot a video, I think. What do you think?
That sounds like a great idea, especially maybe if you get a good snow, that you can go and time it where there's a big snow and you could be out there filming.
I'll see if I can schedule that.
Yeah, you've been pretty busy the past few days. I was noticing it when you were doing a video, and I was like, man, he's got to be freezing.
I checked the wind chill at that. It was in the 20s with the wind chill.
Wow.
And we normally shoot those videos that you're seeing the live version. That's usually about the third take we do, because we do some editing ones, and I do the non-live ones without a jacket. Because it looks better that way. So by the time you see me, I'm real cold. But anyway, Valley Forge. We wanted to make sure we mentioned to you in the beginning that we are not the absolute experts at this. We do know quite a bit about this. But we encourage and we look forward to your questions and comments and other people's expertise and things too. So and also comment on where you're watching from. It's really neat to see. We often have people from different countries. This video gets seen a few thousand times, not in real time, but over the next week or so. But
and share it out and like it and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex Darcy says, good evening from Alabama. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. She hadn't seen it just yet, but it's going to be good. So I could have guessed she's from Alabama with that little logo on there. You see that on there? It's not a UK, is it?
Oh, yeah. We won't hold that against her.
Absolutely not. So the cool thing about Valley Forge is it is one of the things that it first identifies people as being a patriot And people are often looking for that ancestor that was there.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, we have a ton of them. People don't realize during this time period, there was only about 2.5 million people in the entire United States. Think about that.
Wow.
2.5, what is there, 12 million or so in New York City? Something like that?
There's 330 million in the now. So.
Right. So you do the math on that. It's so small. 500,000 of those lived in Virginia. So if you've had ancestors here for a long time, you likely have a Patriot ancestor. And most of the Army was right there with Washington and at Valley Forge or around Valley Forge, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But I wanted to make sure that I brought that up right off the bat. And so many of us have connections, and we've got a little very, very short clip. I think it's a minute and a half, but it's a neat little clip with Amanda, who's actually on our team now, and she lives in South Carolina, but she's related to a Revolutionary War veteran who was there. So, Jordan, you want to show that video?
Hey everybody, this is Russ Carson Jr., one of the genealogists here at Family Tree Nuts, and we're in Madison County, Kentucky. We're about 3 or 4 miles south of historic Fort Boonesboro, built by Daniel Boone, and I've got a special guest with me here. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Amanda Thompson Hughes, and I'm a family historian.
Awesome. And we're on this piece of property here. Where are we at?
Well, we're on land that was owned by my 5 times great-grandfather.
Wow, great, 5 times great-grandfather.
Yeah.
I think it's Captain Lawrence Thompson.
That's correct, Captain Lawrence Thompson.
And you're a Thompson.
I am.
How about that? That's pretty cool. So Captain Thompson, I think, was born in Virginia, I think, right? In 1747 or so? And
yeah, he was. Once he got old enough, he was in the Revolutionary War. He was part of the 1st North Carolina Regiment, saw battles at Brandywine and Germantown, and he wintered over at Valley Forge.
Valley Forge, wow.
Yeah.
That was an easy vacation, right?
I guess.
Easy overnight. I think we learned that his unit checked in with 905 able-bodied men, but left with 315
yes, that's
able-bodied men. They lost 2/3 of their men to sickness and death and illness there. So it was not an easy winter. So he probably would have known George Washington, obviously, too.
Right, and even in his pension application in 1832, he wrote that he was actually in New Jersey, in Trenton, the whole Washington crossing the Delaware and all of that.
Awesome. That's your ancestor.
Yes.
I'm jealous. Kind of thing. But in 1778, I think he got out of the Army and came here to Boonesboro.
He did. 1778, 1779, he made his way west, was part of the original, early pioneers here at Boonesboro. He got married.
There you go. Yeah, it was a good video. I mean, we kind of got it.
That really good, yeah.
Yeah, man.
She definitely seemed to know what she was talking about.
She does, and she'll let you know that. She's a retired Navy chief, as is her husband. So,
wow,
they're both chiefs. Yeah. But that's a really cool video there to show that so many of us have ancestors that there, and it's something so cool that she can be proud of, that to link herself into an early Patriot, especially what those guys went through. Notice they said that what did she say, that her unit from the 1st North Carolina reported with 900 men, but left with about 300.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean,
now, they didn't all die, but I mean, severe illnesses and things like that. But that's horrible, kind of thing. But yeah, you've got a few comments on there, James. You want to holler at them?
Yeah. I want definitely Linda here who says that her Pew ancestor was a Valley Forge and are the ones that settled in Crab Orchard, which is right around here. That's where I'm at, the Crab Orchard.
Yeah, is that your mother? Is that your mother?
No.
No. Okay. So, but I knew we had one fan, But Carolyn said her mom was a Thompson, so maybe she's related to him also. And Alice says that her Patriot ancestor was in Washington's Commander-in-Chief Guards for 6 years, and he was from Virginia. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's like basically his own bodyguards.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And Carolyn said hello from Morristown, Tennessee. We were right near her. And Blaine says, hey, good evening from Bourbon County, Kentucky.
Good old Bourbon County.
Yeah, man. And Cam says hello from Richmond, Kentucky, Rich Vegas. So, but I guess we'll get into the story of Valley Forge here. And like I say, folks, comment on this stuff, chime in, ask questions, let us know where you're watching from. So when were the men at Valley Forge? Do you know?
Oh, 1777. About December to June, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Exactly to the day, 6 months. Yeah, definitely. And I noticed you said that till June, a lot of people think about Valley Forge, and of course you think about the winter that they were there. But man, they were all the way to the summertime too.
Yeah, it's kind of one thing you kind of look over to think it was just a kind of a winter thing, but there's more to it than that. I mean, battles take longer, moving troops and stuff out, all that stuff as well. So
right. Why do they call it Valley Forge?
Isn't that let's see, what was it? Not the river. There was the what was the I don't know. Why is it? What is it? Well, it's it's right there on the how do you pronounce it? The Schuylkill River there. It comes outside of Philly, which is spelled not like that at all, kind of thing. But you pronounce that as Schuylkill. Schuylkill River. And right up there, about 18 miles or so outside of Philadelphia, but it's right off of the Valley River. Mm-hmm. And I think it was in 1742, the Quakers set up a big ironworks business there. We had the big iron furnaces. It was a forge. Mm-hmm. So that's why it became Valley Forge, is that area. And that area grew up to be quite an industrial complex there with mills and things like that. There was right by the river for transportation. But in the summer of 1777, before the troops were there, the quartermaster general of the army decided he was going to hide some of the supplies in Valley Forge. It was a great place down in the valley, hillsides and stuff, sporadic industry buildings, throughout there. Yeah. And they hid a lot of supplies in there that were pretty safe, weren't they? Well, sure.
Absolutely. Scott said if you had an ancestor that was at Brandywine, what are the chances they were at Valley Forge? Pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. Pretty good, because I do believe Brandywine was just before this. That was in the summer of '77, wasn't Brandywine?
Mm-hmm. So that'd be a real good chance.
Yeah, right there in that area for sure. But we don't know for sure. It just depends on where his unit was and what unit he was with,
or where they went off to, or if they stayed with, or
right.
Yeah.
So they hid the supplies there, and the British, I think it was in September, finally hit the shores and heard about the supplies. And what happened?
Well, they weren't happy about it.
The British were unhappy that the Americans had supplies, the Patriots. That's true. So they attacked it. They attacked the supplies. I'm getting a little bit. It's not fair. We're supposed to talk about Valley Forge, and I'm laying the groundwork for the story ahead of time there. But you're not supposed to. We're not talking. I'm talking about 3 months before the troops arrived. But the British did attack those supplies that were there, and it was defended by a Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Hamilton, who got a job later on. You know him?
He's kind of an important person. I mean, some people might know him now. I don't know, maybe.
First Secretary of the Treasury, I think he's on the $10 bill, and by another guy, a young lieutenant, 21 years old, by the name of Harry Lighthorse Harry Lee. You ever heard of him?
I've heard of him. Yep, I've heard of him. I do believe.
He had a son that you've probably heard about too, haven't you?
Is his name William? Maybe.
No, William. Robert. That's Robert E. Lee's dad.
Oh, Robert E. Lee. Yeah.
See, guys, this is really live. We don't sit around and say, "What are we going to talk about?" We just. And sometimes I throw some curveballs at Jameson, but we're throwing him off here.
If we veer outside of Kentucky, my limits, I get limited.
Right, you get outside of Kentucky, that's for sure. But yeah, it was the goods were defended by Lieutenant Lighthorse Harry Lee, who was Robert E. Lee's father. Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty cool little side story right there. So the the Continental Congress took off and fled in September, and dispersed themselves in the capital of Philadelphia, and the British occupied Philadelphia. Washington was not able to retake the city in time, so they had to basically weather the winter. And they picked that location right there because, one, it was not too far from the city. Two, you've got the Schuylkill River right there for transportation and things like that. Three, it was easily fortified due to the hills, and if you go visit, you'll see that it's kind of like Kentucky right there. It's kind of like the bluegrass region.
You got a big bowl.
Right, and then it's very easily defendable. But the other reason is that it had lots of open land for drilling and things like that too. So a lot of supplies. That's why they chose to go there. And a lot of people don't realize the whole army was not there. They sent a couple thousand people, I think, to Trenton. A couple thousand people to in New Jersey there, Trenton, and there was somewhere else in New Jersey, and to Reading, Pennsylvania, and they basically spread them out about 12 different locations. But the bulk of the troops were right there in Valley Forge. So they got there about. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, was it about 20? Is it 20 some miles from Philadelphia? I mean, it was close to the city, but it's also far enough away that it wasn't just like right there. You know, they had space. So. Right.
And it brought in about 12,000 men too. And that's what blows my mind is, you think about how big militaries are today. That's 12,000 men is not a lot in today. So, but
there we go.
Scott says to go find out. Nikki Campbell says Archibald Roane, second governor of Tennessee, was at Valley Forge. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Josh Robbins, he's watching here. Hey, Josh, how's it going? Where you at today? He drives a truck. He may be. Who knows where he's at? He might be close to Valley Forge. You never know.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It'd be a good time to go there. Rick said Robert E. Lee. He got it right there, kind of thing. What's his prize? What are we giving away today, James?
Pride, I guess.
Give away pride. Good job, Rick. Rick lives right down there from Boonesboro. Linda Kellogg Bale says her Pew ancestor was apprenticed in Trenton and tricked to sign the enlistment rolls. Well, okay. So he got tricked into it. So that's, oh man, that's kind of a bummer way to go. But it's kind of like the draft, I guess. So,
a lot of these pictures here are pictures of Valley Forge. Some of the paintings, all that stuff, which I don't know who painted all these paintings or anything like that, but that's what we're looking at here. Obviously, it was cold.
Yes, it was a horrific time, and I guess we should get into that, shouldn't we? We've only been going about 20 minutes, and we haven't even talked the story here. But it was definitely an easy vacation trip, wasn't it?
No, not easy at all. I mean, there's nothing better than freezing in a tent with nothing to keep you warm.
And the struggles that they went through kind of breeds nationalism. As with anything else, what is it that I think Woody Hayes said? Anything easy ain't worth a dang. So you probably don't know who Woody Hayes is, but anything easy ain't worth a dang. So these people went through so much hardship, they became a real proud unit, and it definitely it's a snapshot of the American cause, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, it would definitely give you that kind of patriotic feeling that they're doing this for a bigger cause. We got to tough through. The elements are terrible. If we can pull this out, this is gonna help us to give us the fuel to win the battle. That kind of stuff.
And it did. It really did. So, and the men showed up in bad supply in the first place. Logistics of the thing was a mess. There was half of the country was still loyal to the British. So just to be able to get proper food and clothing was horrendous. I'm going to read this little quote from George Washington himself. He said that the men without clothes to cover their nakedness, without blankets to lay on, without shoes by which their marches might be traced through the blood from their feet, and almost as often without provisions as with, marching through frost and snow, and at Christmas taking up their winter quarters within a day's march of the enemy, without a house or a hut to cover them until they could be built, and submitting to it without a murmur, is a mark of patience and obedience, which in my opinion can scarce be paralleled.
There you go.
Some flowery language, that's kind of thing, but you get the idea. Right. You get the idea, though, that how horrible this was. We've seen the images of guys in their bare feet, kind of thing, or not having coats, or whichever. So, I mean, it's almost. And it's just like he said. This was Christmas time. They got there December the 19th. Christmas has always been a big deal for our culture. And how do you usually celebrate Christmas?
Well, get up in the morning, take the dog out, come back in. It may be snowing, it may not be. I come into the warm house, watch the kids unwrap presents, take a nap maybe, if that's possible.
Probably eat a big meal.
Oh yeah, big breakfast, big lunch, or big dinner for sure.
These guys, you don't go out and sit in the snow in your shorts.
Yeah, and I don't take off my socks for it. So very relaxed, very much blessed in that manner, for sure. And until you think of the amount of 12 men per hut.
About 12 guys.
That's not a lot of room, and I mean these huts weren't. I mean they're a hut. I mean it's literally. I mean it's not a big, 200 square or 2,000 square foot building. I mean that's
sort of like a log cabin with a low ceiling kind of thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Build there. Often they built them down into the ground, so that they could save on the logs that are in there. And from personal experience, I've been in not those wood huts, but I've been in big areas like that with a bunch of men, and the smells and things like that is what I think of, and the sounds, and being able to sleep, with some guy snoring and other bodily functions all night long, and knowing that they had to get guys up from time to time to stand guard and things like that, and you never did get a real good sleep. The men before this, when they were out on the, when it wasn't the winter time, they were in tents and things like that, maybe a little bit more private, a little more space and stuff, but that's some pretty tight quarters.
Yeah. And we got some comments here. Gypsy Lane, my family began genealogy at the beginning of COVID to keep busy and a new hobby. Found your page a few days ago and catching y'all live for the first time now. We're from Lincoln County, Kentucky. So woohoo!
Awesome.
Lincoln County, Patriots.
It definitely is a great time to do the genealogy work. You can't get out. It's also a great time to visit some of these sites.
Yeah. I mean,
it's outside. And there's hardly anybody else there. So.
Yeah, there's so much. There's so much to do. I mean, so much you can go around and see. Just in Kentucky, Lincoln County is huge, of course, with Kentucky history. But just wherever you're at, there's going to be something you can find. But yeah. So
Rick says that the conditions sound familiar to the weather conditions of the American troops based 107 years later at Bastogne. Ain't that the truth? There's multiple times in American history where troops have had to do that. Same with the Korea Marines and over there and fighting the Chinese. But horrific conditions that most of us can scarcely even comprehend a day.
And we'll even bring up Lafayette's little quote here: "Small barracks, which scarcely more cheerful than dungeons."
Yeah. That's what Lafayette wrote. Yeah,
Marquis de Lafayette.
Marquis de Lafayette, right? He has a few more titles too. He has like.
Man, he's got 10 names or 10 titles, however you want to say it.
But. So they said he built between 1,300 and 16 structures there on the property in different sizes and things. A lot of people don't realize that there was between 250 and 400 women that were there with the troops.
Supply wise, or keeping things, cooking, those sorts of things. I mean, obviously, their health was not in good health, so they had to have nurses there. people who could, amputate, those sorts of things, frostbite, all that.
All that kind of stuff, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that people don't really realize when they think about these wars. Pretty much since the dawn of time, up until at least the Civil War, there was a lot of women that followed behind the armies, to handle some of the logistics and things like that was out there. And then really, in my opinion, they are as much patriots as those men were, and were, sometimes they even fired the cannons, brought the water, did all kinds of things. So there's a lot of stories of that. So I think that women don't get enough credit for the sacrifices they made for freedom in America too. So
very true.
But Danny says a shout out from Indiana. That's where I had planned to go this week, but we got a call to go to Tennessee and Virginia, but definitely plan to go back to do some stuff in Indiana. Blaine says, very true. His uncle was at Bastogne. That's amazing. Amazing. Definitely should be proud of that. So they had horrible supply issues, improper food. Their food was rotting before it even got there. Often there was a massive confusion of where to even ship their food. Remember, we were talking about half the country was for the other team.
Yeah. So I'll ask you this question. Why would they have trouble shipping it? How would they not know? What obstacles were they trying to get past? I guess I'll say it that way, as far as shipping stuff.
Well, if they saw you shipping a massive quantity of food, it was obvious that it was going, probably to one of the armies, kind of thing. So people were turning each other in, trying to be loyal to the crown or loyal to the Patriot cause. It was a real tricky time to do business like that. A lot of merchants were imprisoned, and they have some stories of where they were even executed, just trying to bring supplies to the troops. So that's one thing there. And the other thing is the people around did not know the horrible conditions that the army was living in. They kept that a secret because they did not want the British to get word how bad that they had it. To get motivation, say, all right, boys, let's go whoop these guys, because they don't have any shoes or they haven't eaten hardly anything. So, but
that's what I was gonna kind of say on the other end of it is their own troops didn't know, or their own supply chains didn't know, which they didn't want. It was all a secretive kind of thing. If the British find out, I mean, it's easy for them to take care of this starving, helpless army. There. So. Right,
absolutely. So it be, and of course the weather conditions and things like that. The rivers were frozen. It was just a horrible thing all the way around. On December the 23rd, the men had only been there for about 4 days. Washington wrote to Congress to try to get some supplies, and he said that if they weren't supplied quickly, one of three things was going to happen.
Yeah.
The army would starve, they would dissolve, or they would disperse, kind of thing. So basically, if you don't feed my boys, we're not going to have an army. That's how serious.
How can you keep morale up if everybody's starving to death and have no supplies, and situations are terrible?
And that's what's amazing is the morale. Now, of course, these guys were held there by they're going to kill you if you leave. It's people taken off as a desertion is a very popular thing in wartime, and it's punishable by crime to this day. Kind of thing. So it that's one reason they were held there. But the other thing is that like in any other times, they could have mutinied, they could have took off, but the American cause and the strength of Washington to keep the men's spirits up is phenomenal. It really is. Kind of thing. So, and I wanted to say too is that studies have came out recently that we always think about the snow and the horrible weather conditions and things like that. They say it actually wasn't the worst winter of the Revolutionary War. That was actually 2 years later. But they still, with improper clothing and things like that, frostbite and having
not really prepared, and they probably weren't prepared to hunker down for so long either.
No, that's not what they planned, and they really didn't know how long they were going to stay there. A lot of the Congress was pushing them to go ahead and attack the British in a winter campaign kind of thing. But that's neat to think about a time where all right, boys, looks like it's getting cold outside. We're going to go ahead and shut this down, call timeout, have a halftime, kind of thing, and regroup here, and we'll fight this thing starting in March.
Y'all laid it to us. We're going to take us a break. Just pause for a while.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. There's no, as we're going to talk about in next week's show, that wasn't always the case. Mm-hmm. But the cleanliness was incredibly hard to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
Dead horses. Like 1,500 horses died that winter, and the ground was frozen.
You're going to dig a hole for them, or what are you going to do with them?
Right. They'd pile them up in piles, and Washington said the stench was just horrendous, kind of thing. So that it was just absolutely disgusting. But in the camp, due to lack of supplies, lack of water, lack of proper what they need, they had outbreaks of scabies, typhoid, dysentery, influenza, pneumonia, typhus, and lice. That sounds like the school you teach at, doesn't it?
Well, maybe just the last part.
Just the lice part.
Makes you itch,
Do you know what scabies are?
It's is it a rash, or is that what it is? Like a rash on your...
Kind of.
I don't know.
It's a mite. It's a mite that gets on your body. He burrows down, then he makes tunnels under your skin.
Oh, that sounds painful.
And you scratch the fire out of him. And it's contagious via contact. Mm-hmm. So you only can really transfer it if you're real close quarters and things like that. But it's incredibly hard to get rid of.
Yeah, I know what dysentery is, but...
Yeah. Dysentery. You died on the Oregon Trail from that, didn't you? But poor water supplies and things like that. But another thing about it is, do you know if smallpox was a problem at Valley Forge?
It probably would it? Yeah, it would have been. Would it? I would think it's
no.
No, is that not?
No, smallpox. Earlier that summer, George Washington had ordered. Yeah. Go ahead. You can tell.
He had, did the anti-vaccine or antibodies and put the vaccine, or put not the vaccine, but put basically gave everybody smallpox.
Inoculation, right? Minor, yeah. Not all of them, and they had a minor outbreak, but then they revaccinated from there. So it's to that, and this is where it's historically significant. It's when they marched out of Valley Forge, they were the largest state enforced inoculations in the history of the world, kind of thing. So it was pretty neat to be able to do that. We're talking about some of that stuff today in the news, aren't we?
Well, I haven't heard, man. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, all day long, kind of thing. So, are you going to take the vaccine? Nope. Let's move on. So, going up here, between 1,700 and 2,000 men died.
Wow. That's quite a. What was that like? What percentage is that? That's a pretty big.
Between 14 and 17% of every men that were there. So, less than one in six.
That's yeah. I mean, you think it's a battle. I mean, a battle's worth to think that they were just hunkered down, and that many passed.
One winter. That's not including the men that were down for illnesses and sicknesses and lost limbs and things like that. These are people that died. Yeah. Kind of thing. So your buddies around you, and died quickly too. So it's absolutely phenomenal that that they stayed and didn't mutiny and all that kind of thing. So as soon as we got to March, Washington appointed Nathaniel Greene as the quartermaster general, and he was.
That's the guy. That's the guy I was talking about. Nathaniel Greene. Greene County, Kentucky, is named after him.
It is. And the Green River. And the color green too.
And if people aren't, getting my excitement, we were talking earlier. I was talking to Russ about a guy from Kentucky who was with or not from Kentucky, but connected to Kentucky, and I could not remember his name. That's who it was, Nathaniel Greene. There you go.
Right. So he's he wanted to a combat command, but he did his job and he did it very well. So supplies immediately started pouring back in there a whole lot better in March. The weather started thawing, and everything changed. Now the men were just in a camp at that, basically their own base, So it wasn't wonderful conditions, of course, but they started to get better clothing, better food. So really the hardships were there late December, January, and February was the horrendous times that were there. So if you made it past there, you were doing pretty good. Something else that was pretty neat to think about is that about a third of the men were there were ESL. You know what ESL is?
No, not off.
Sure you do. It's a word that we use today. It's in the school system.
ESL?
English as a second language. Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't even think about that, right?
I wasn't even connected. I was like, ESL, I know that
right.
acronym. I was like, what is that? But there you go, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a ton of people from German-speaking communities. People don't realize this, that even up until, well, with the Amish, it's even today, but up until the late 1800s even, there was a tremendous amount of all German-speaking communities in Pennsylvania and Ohio and some places in Virginia and things like that. I'm descended from a few of those. But Gaelic speakers, French Huguenots, a lot of the people that were from New York still spoke Dutch. People don't realize that, New York was a Dutch colony originally, so had a tremendous amount of people that continue to speak Dutch for generations. And a lot of the local people spoke Welsh because they were Quakers settlements. And it's wild to think about a time in America. Well, it wasn't America yet, but you had all these different communities that still spoke their own native languages and stuff like that. So it's kind of neat to think about that. Not to mention their officers were from all over daggone Europe.
Yeah, well, you got Marquis there spitting out his French and
Français, and Heinrich Baron Heinrich von Steuben was from Prussia, kind of thing, and guys from Poland and Ireland and Hungary and things. And believe it or not, there was black troops there too. About 10% of the army at Valley Forge were black troops.
Yeah.
And some of them were freed. Some of them were, if they joined, they could get their freedom, and they were paid. Their owners were paid what their market value was for them. Certain states had recruiting quotas that had to be met. And I read like Rhode Island could not meet the demands, so they started enlisting. Enlisting black folks, and they earned their freedom while they were there. So daggone awesome, I think.
Yeah, it's real awesome.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And believe it or not, in the springtime, there brought a whole bunch of Native Americans were at the camp too.
Wow.
That they served as scouts and things like that of what the enemy was doing and stuff. So, man, this is quite a United Nations of people that were there. So it's pretty neat to think about that. So.
So while you're there, what do you do while you're waiting around to attack?
Let me tell you what we did. We just cleaned weapons all day long. kind of thing. When you're done cleaning it, clean it again. So, and then get your toothbrush out and clean the heads or clean the bathrooms there. So, that's one reason why they're so daggone worried about cleanliness in the military today is because of that. Because of all the diseases and things like that were out there. But they drilled. They trained.
Yes.
That's what they did.
Yes.
Up until that time, though, all the different units and stuff, the different regiments from different areas were doing things differently. They're kind of a hodgepodge. It'd be like, 3 different high schools in your county, and you guys pulling some football players from each team and trying to go play a game.
I'm trying. That's about right.
Trying to run the same plays.
When you think about the different languages being spoken and all that stuff, I mean, that would make it even more confusing, or harder, more difficult.
Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest reasons for the struggles of the early Continental Army, the Patriot Army out there. But so they drilled, and like we mentioned a second ago, the Baron Heinrich von Steuben, as some people call him, I guess, was brought in, was a drill master, and basically threw everything out and taught it his way. and they started from scratch. And they became quite a daggone formidable group by the end of it.
I can just imagine them coming. Look, guys, you guys are doing this all wrong. We're starting over.
Right. Sure.
This
I can
depleted.
imagine the complaining,
The depleted army, like, what? You're gonna make us start all over? But it worked. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Rick says this was probably a very unifying event. Unifying event. And it that's what I was thinking about. It's kind of a snapshot of a early America.
Well, kind of got things going. I mean, got things together. Got them, got the cause, I guess, moving. All good causes come from a struggle. So.
Definitely, and without a doubt. And then it was early. I think it was it April or May? France finally agreed to support the American cause, and of course Britain declared war on France, which changed everything. Yeah.
Lafayette rolls in and says, "Hey, my boys are coming. We're good."
Right. That's right. Yeah. Finally, kind of thing. The French were involved, and they didn't even do anything for a little while, but at least they scared the British, enough to. They realized that they had other things that they had to defend. Now that they were at war also with France, the British pulled troops out of Philadelphia to go guard the Bahamas and different areas like in Canada and things like that. That they had to beef up their defenses there, and the British general realized that he better move himself to New York, which was a lot more loyal to the crown and things. So he decides to pull up roots from Philly and starts hauling tail out of Philly up to New York, and Washington chases him. This is in June now. So.
Yeah, that's where. I got to read Rick's comment here. Nothing like shared misery to bring them together.
I cannot tell you how many times that I have experienced that.
You've shared misery.
I have been all over this world and shared lots of misery and lots of miserable places with other miserable folks, and we're good pals today. But, yeah, man, that's true. It definitely brings us together. And it's kind of a mini America that was there at Valley Forge that winter time there. Shared struggles together, people from all over the place, and made a unified force. Now they chased the British. They harassed the British all the way to New York. They did stop in battle once. The British did escape and made themselves into Manhattan there in New York. But the thing about it is the morale of the Continental troops was through the roof, and they performed incredibly well in battle for the rest of the war, even kind of thing. So it was really a turning point that almost sometimes you go through horrible crap in life and you come out of it so much better, and that's kind of what happened to the Patriot Army while they're at Valley Forge. So
Is that all we got for Valley Forge?
Yeah, that's pretty much it right now. I mean, if you go to the park, it's 3,500 acres. They got monuments all over the place. If you go this time of year, you can freeze to death like your ancestors did. But has a nice museum that's there and beautiful monuments. It's you can get an idea if you go there and just be quiet. Now would be a good time to go because it's barely open and hardly anybody's there. So, but
that's one of the places I'll need to get to at some point for sure. Real good.
And for families, those places are free.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we had to pay to get into that little museum or not. I don't think so, but it's really cool to go there, and it's not too far from Gettysburg, believe it or not. Short time drive there. So, but anyway, so what are we going to talk about next week?
I think are we gonna cross the Delaware?
Yes. Americans, we will kill you at Christmas in the middle of the night, or kill you in the middle of the night in Christmas, I think is what they said there. So happened on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve kind of thing. Washington crossing the Delaware. So it will be appropriate there for Christmas. So awesome. Michael Bush. Oh gosh, Michael Bush. I remember him. He's related to everyone, kind of thing. And I believe him. You really do, especially from where he's from. He says George Washington is his second cousin 9 times removed. Man, I wish I was Michael Bush's brother or something, man, because he's related to everybody cool, kind of thing. So if you're related to just 20% of the people that he's related to, you got some awesome ancestors. Cool. So jealous, Michael.
Yeah. He's got a lot of good history. He's got a lot of good history to share. So
definitely. So before we take off, what do you got going on with Kentucky History Podcast the next little bit?
Well, so I was going to mention, so if you go to Kentucky History Channel, you can watch some cool videos about Marquis de Lafayette and George Washington. They're pretty they're longer. I do these videos about Kentuckians, and there's just not a lot of information. So like 2 minutes. I do one on George Washington. It's like 7 minutes, but there's so much information out there on George Washington. It's just an overload. But there's that, and of course the podcast. I don't know if you caught the last episode, but we're doing a little mystery game here on who we're talking about. A famous, important Kentuckian is I guess the way to say it. So
like the twist.
Yeah, do a little twist. Even Mr. Pope doesn't know who we're talking about. And
awesome.
we recorded the other day, and he said, so we're talking about so and so, and I was like, no, we're not talking about that person. He's like, oh man, he's like, I'm completely in the dark then, and which he is. I didn't plan on telling him, but he thought he could guess, but so far no good. So
awesome,
pretty good.
Yeah, it's great stuff, when you're driving, and sitting in traffic or cleaning the house or
radio station on your phone is basically what you got.
Right, right. Why not get you some good history stuff? I know when I listen to your all's stuff, I have to rewind it multiple times because I feed off of it, and I pride myself as being the guy that knows a lot about these things, but I catch stuff all the time. I was like, wow, I didn't know that, so. It's awesome. I really love it. But we were down in Tennessee and Virginia these past few days. We're getting ready to do a project to video document the history of Cumberland Gap, Tennessee, little town there on the Tennessee side. And we've got some stuff going on out in Brandenburg, Kentucky. We're going to be out that way. We've got some videos coming out tomorrow. Amanda is going to be filming some live videos tomorrow in South Carolina at I think it's the Beaufort Naval Hospital. But there is a tremendous amount of history. It has nothing to do with naval history or anything like that, but from the Civil War and things like that. She's got, I think, 5 or 6 videos. She'll be live 5 or 6 times tomorrow, hopefully.
Wow.
So check those out. I might be live myself at a few videos in a cemetery tomorrow. So we got a lot of stuff going on. We're getting ready to go to Indiana, go to Vincennes. We got a project to do up in Vincennes for George Rogers Clark. So a lot of stuff going on. If you like history,
George Rogers,
tapping into the Kentucky History Podcast and
Family Tree Nuts.
Family Tree Nuts. Yeah, I forgot my own name there for a second. But it's the place to be. So Tavin says that I think he's in Tennessee. I think he's a Carson deep back too. Said I'm supposedly related to George Washington through the Warners and the Yates.
Yeah.
So that'd be pretty cool.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Pretty cool.
All righty. So I guess we can sign off for now. So remember, next week will be our last one before Christmas. So we will kill you in your sleep at Christmas. Yeah, that's pretty good, right? So that's what Americans, All right, so I guess we can sign off, Jordan. And hey, remember, Family Tree Nuts. Let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree. Merry Christmas.
Welcome to Family Tree Nuts. This video is to tell you who we are and what we do. I'm Russ Carson Jr., the genealogist and the founder of Family Tree Nuts. And for years, I kept hearing people say, I'd love to know about my ancestors, but I don't know how, I don't have the time, and I don't want to pay for those expensive membership fees. So in 2017, I founded Family Tree Nuts. Family Tree Nuts is a full-service history and genealogy service with nuts, some people would call them teammates, all over the country. First and foremost, our primary mission is to build family trees for clients. We do the research and build simple or detailed family trees and provide our clients with professionally written reports that are keepsakes forever. We have many different levels of our service plans to meet most needs or budgets. Our plans are listed on our website, and we can provide you with many different examples and testimonials. We also produce historic videos, and we make 3 different types of these videos. First, we make videos about historical people or places. Many of these are produced for historical and tourism organizations. Second, ancestor stories, which are with a client at a relevant location of an ancestor sharing their story. And third, life interviews, with elder family members documenting their lives. We make many of these videos on Facebook Live, so be on the lookout for those as well. Thanks for checking us out, and make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let us know how we can help you with your history and genealogy needs. You can contact us at info@familytreenuts.org. And remember, Family Tree Nuts, let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.